Hey everyone, so this is your brief review of Mice and Men. So we're going to go chapter by chapter and actually talk a little bit about what happened. So let's start off. First, hey look, we're on a farm. No, they stop at a lovely pond and talk about their dreams. So in chapter 1, who do we meet? We meet George and Lenny, and they decide that they're going to spend a night of freedom by the pond. And we get to hear about what they're dreaming for the future, owning their own place with a farm, and as Lenny put it, rabbits. He gets to tend the rabbits. It's really important to remember that we get to see a lot of foreshadowing. For example, Lenny has a mouse, and poor old Lenny does what? He kills the mouse. He does. So Lenny kills the mouse by petting it too hard, which foreshadows how unfortunately he's going to kill a few other things. Also, if I have to hear about Lenny and rabbits, well, wait, we'll continue to hear about those rabbits. So chapter 2. So in chapter 1, we had the exposition. In chapter 2, we have the character development. And we get to meet George, obviously, Lenny, rabbits, Candy, oh man, I'm missing a hand, the boss, who only appears in this one chapter and then we never see him again. What's up with that? Slim, who they kind of describe like God and a father. Curly, Curly's wife. Oh my heavens! I'm so pretty. And Carlson. Carlson, who pretty much only serves one purpose. We find out in this chapter that Carlson has a gun. We also find out that they were supposed to be there a day early, and poor George and Lenny will just have to go out in the afternoon. Now, do they almost blow their cover? Yes. Do we find out that Curly is a short man with short man syndrome? Yes. Do we see that some of these characters don't like each other? Yes. And we also find out that Curly's wife is a tart. So, in chapter 2, we learn a lot about how power functions on the farm. We know that Slim's word is gospel and that everybody follows what he happens to say. So we're going to move on to chapter 3. All right, I'm going to do a little trigger warning here. The dog dies. So in chapter 3, we learn a few things. One, we know that Candy's dog is old and stinky, and nobody really likes to be around him. So, am I still going? Sure. So we learned, say hi, Ziva. Hi. We learned that Curly says, hey, let's put the dog out of its misery. What do you say to that, Ziva? No, let's not do that. And unfortunately, Slim doesn't back Candy up on this one, and the dog dies. Now, we also learned that Carlson has a gun. We also learn that George knows where it is. So how does this figure into foreshadowing? Well, let's get to chapter 6 and we'll find out. So if you think about the novel as almost like a play or a movie that you're watching, it really helps as we move along. Also, in chapter 3, Curly gets a taste of his own medicine when Lenny crushes his hand. Chapter 4. So all the boys go out to town and they decide, like, hey, Lenny's has nothing to do, Crooks has nothing to do, we're going to chat. So think about why it would be unkosher for a white man to go into a black man's cabin. Well, you had segregation laws, unfortunately, and they just weren't able to kind of hang out. So they have a nice long talk. And of course, guess who ruined it? Well, Curly's wife ruins it for everybody. Yes, she does. Everybody. She tells Crooks that she's got more power than he does because she's white and he's black. She calls Lenny stupid. And last but not least, she's mean to Candy, that he's never going to have that piece of land. It just ain't going to happen. Well, this tart is going to get her comeuppance in Chapter 5. So let's look at Chapter 5. Again, we have another PSA for animal lovers. This is not happy. Okay, this is also Steinbeck. Nothing is happy. So, as Miss Curly said, Curly's wife says she wants to hang out with Lenny. But Lenny has killed a puppy. He killed the puppy. So she says, Lenny, why did you kill that puppy? And Lenny says, well, I was petting it too hard. And then she lets, oh, well, you can pet my hair. My hair is so nice. Oh, don't you mess it up. Don't you mess it up. And of course, Curly messes it up and kills that tart. So we have a puppy who is dead. A Curly's wife who is dead. And now, does anybody else die? Well, let's look to Chapter 6. Of course, somebody else dies. This is Steinbeck. So in Chapter 6, we know that Lenny has run away to the pond that we saw at the very beginning. That's where George told him to go. So Lenny goes and he hides. And George is smart. He goes out with the search party, but he has Carlson's gun. And they sit there, and Lenny starts having some visions. And he sees his Aunt Clara, who is dead, and a big pink rabbit, who is only a figment of his imagination because he's never going to get rabbits because he killed Curly's wife, who is now dead. So George comes up behind him and gets him to, see the whole picture, see the farm and the land. And then he puts a bullet in his head. And now Lenny is dead. And that is of Mice and Men.